Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and today I wanted to go over a couple of the specialized firearms tools that I use. And before I get started, I wanted to show you something. This is one of those kind of a Klein utility bag. I like the design of these. The reason I'm pointing it out is because I did a kind of a zippered pouch, zippered tool bag video. But anyway, this is a great bag, a double bottom, nice heavy ballistics, but the zipper is so messed up with the zipper pull, that it actually makes it hard to use. So I don't know what Klein's thinking, but it always catches off to the side, so it's not easy to just grab and go because it snags like this. I've got them in kind of this gray and black. I've got them in orange. They're great solid bags, but this zipper pull is just worthless. And it's a Klein branded one. So I don't know, in China or something, they said, yeah, we can do that for you. I'm about ready to just snip this off and then put a zip tie or anything through this just to make it work. The bags are great. The zippers are, look at that. I can't, I'm trying to pull it, and it's off to the side. Klein, I hope you're watching, but this is ridiculous. Anyway, and while I'm in the firearms world, you might have heard of Magpul. They make all kinds of accessories, etc. Magpul also makes some pouches. This is they call these DACA pouches. It's a heavy-duty kind of a polymer plastic pouch. It's not watertight, but it's really durable and mostly dust and dirt tight. It's got a place you could write on it here if you wanted to put some numbers or letters to identify it. But a lot of people are using these as tool pouches as well. They're a little on the pricey side for just a tool pouch, but it's American innovation playing around with things. So the Magpul DACA pouches are something to keep an eye on. But anyway, let's get to the main video. These are some of the tools that I use, and how I want to structure this is like why I have it, what it's good for, and whether or not it's worth getting. A lot of people, when they start tinkering around with their firearms, especially the certain platforms, it's not really gunsmithing. It's more adding or modifying some of the accessories or the features of the particular firearm. And the first thing you often run into is you need a tool, a specialized tool. Not something that you have in your toolbox, and the question is, do you get a good one? Are you going to be doing it more times than not? I use what I call the 5 and 5 rule. If you're going to use it 5 times in 5 years, then get a good tool. If you're just going to do it once, then you can go ahead and just get an inexpensive tool that'll allow you to get the job done once or twice. But it really isn't that great a tool. It's not good for the firearm because you're risking doing some damage. But if you are going to use the tool more than a few times, then it's best to invest in a quality one. Plus, you'll tinker more if you have good tools, which is kind of the point. So let's start out with this guy here. This is the Magpul Armorer's wrench. I like these. It's a good, solid, well-designed wrench. What it has, this is for the barrel nut. It's got a hammer surface here, light striking, etc. It's got a place for a half-inch torque or a half-inch torque wrench or ratchet. And then it has the torque values written on it for some of the basic things like the barrel nut, the castle nut, and the flash hider, which I'll go over. It has this area here is designed for the castle nut, which holds the buttstock on. That's why this cutout is here, so you can slide it over that the part that it has the detents in it or the indexing for different sized or different positions. And then it's got a bottle cap opener or a bottle opener right here, so you can pop this open and use your beverage of choice once you're done. But anyway, these aren't cheap. They're super high quality. I really like that this has so many different indexing points for the barrel. Sometimes if you get the inexpensive ones, they might have 1 or 2. You know, this is designed more for the castle nut. Not really a good choice. This one for the castle nut has 3 indexing points, and you can see it's indented inside here, and they stick out. So it's a different system for grabbing it than some of the inexpensive ones. And this works really well. Excellent, as a matter of fact. Let's see. I'll go into these. When you're working on something such as the castle nut or the barrel nut, and the barrel is going to be on the upper receiver, and the castle nut's going to be on the lower receiver, somehow you're going to have to hang on to one of those 2 parts. And these are the ones that I use. This is a standard vise block, and what it does is it inserts into the mag well. Actually, you could do it this way, and then this will snap down into the mag catch. It'll hook up and then stay inside and then in the mag well, and then you can squeeze this into a vise, and then that holds it pretty dang tight. This is another one. Not only does this, you can use this as a just for the lower receiver, but you can also use it for the upper receiver, and this will actually index with the upper receiver or the barrel in the chamber and slide in and not only hold the upper receiver tight, but hold the barrel tight. So these are worth their weight in gold. And this is the Magpul bev block. And this thing, actually, if you wanted to take it further, you can pin it directly into the receiver, and you can even take out part of the bolt and slide the remaining part in, and snap this down on this O-ring and lock it in place if you really want to apply some force. And the reason that's important is you're working with you know, a lot of leverage. You're working with aluminum, and if you don't hold it right, you can really damage something. So even though it might seem expensive to get the right tool, this is a time when you really should have the right tool. I have seen some people who buy these and then rent them out, you know, for a couple of jobs, but it'd be good to get your own stuff. So some way to anchor the receivers. The flash hider, or when you get out to a barrel, it runs 3/4 inch usually. And when you grab, let me grab one here. Here we go. Sorry about that. I should have been better prepared. But anyway, any kind of muzzle device generally is a 3/4. And I don't mind using a good quality, like a snap-on wrench. But there are other kinds of wrenches that you can get that actually mate with 3/4. It's not, you know, a wrench that you need to run out and buy, but generally if you're running a crush washer that's a little wider, you might need a narrower profile for the muzzle device. But anyway, that's what I usually grab, something like a nice good snap-on 3/4, and have one. This is an old one, so sometimes I keep older snap-on tools. I can get them pretty inexpensively and make a dedicated one designed specifically to stay in my my firearms kit. This is a very small nut driver, and this one is designed, this is Squirrel Daddy, designed for a front sight on a handgun, and this is flush because there's a very thin nut or a fastener that you have to be able to grab and loosen, and you can't use a traditional socket, simply, you know, even a really small socket, because the tolerance right up here is not going to allow you to grab it, simply because of the contour, the kind of the bevel that is put in in a lot of sockets. So that's why you need something like this, plus the super thin walls. So it's a dedicated one-job tool designed for the fastener that holds in front sights. If you're going to play around with them, then definitely get one. They're only like $10. Highly worth it. Point these out. These are Allen or Hex tools. I usually have dedicated ones. Generally, you're running the small stuff is where you want the good ones. This is a kind of a bare bones skeletonized Craftsman here. I don't know. It's okay. and then this one's a dedicated. This one's actually designed for archery. So I might do something on bow tools as well, since I'm into archery as well. But generally getting into some of the smaller ones that may not be on the traditional mechanics side, because that's what a lot of them are running. And in fact, this small one here, the smallest is 50 thousandths or 5/100ths of an inch. So you've left the fractional, the smallest fraction of like 5/64ths or something, and you've gone down into now the decimals, and that's some very small fasteners sometimes require those. So I have dedicated ones specific to my firearms kits. Now you might notice this and this. These are for castle nuts. The castle nut is the nut that is on the back of some platform rifles, AR platforms, that actually secures the buffer tube to the upper receiver, or the lower receiver, excuse me. And so you need something that grabs it. And sometimes you can grab it with just like one little hook. That's not a good idea, but instead at least 3, most of them are. Magpul's even better, but this will work as well. And then this one is a small, thin one. It's designed actually to be used with some sort of a torque wrench. And then if you recall on the castle nut here, it says 40 foot-pounds for the castle nut. It's an average torque. So that's what this is all about. Is it's kind of like a dedicated stamped steel castle nut wrench or castle nut fastener. This is designed to align your gas tube, and if you do a lot of barrel swaps and you need to move gas porting components around, this can help. It slides into the receiver, and then this slides out the gas where the gas tube would go to align things. It's okay. If you're doing it a lot of times, then it can help, but many times I can align them just fine without using something as invasive as that. This is a Leopold scope mount wrench. Basically, if Leopolds have bases, it's a type of scope that will fit into a mechanism where you line up kind of an oblong to oval shaped piece, and then you twist it in place. This is the wrench, so you'd hook it down on that and then twist it and then align it, and then your scope lines up on it. So you take your scope off, you have the ring there, and then you use this wrench to twist it sideways and pop it out. Do you need one? Only if you do a bunch of scope work. Otherwise, I just not bother with it, simply because you could probably do it with other tools if you're very careful. That means like a rag and pliers, a rag and a wrench, just to grab it and not damage it. But if you actually do spend a bunch of time, then it's good to have the right tool, and this one's designed specifically for it, and it's although it's plastic, it doesn't really mar any of the aluminum finish. Let's see, I also keep or have a receiver block. This is designed to hold the upper receiver. This would be primarily the lower receiver. You can also use this, but this grabs it, and it fits inside a vise. And then when it's in the vise, it allows you to work on the receiver without risk of damage. So oftentimes you'd use this, and then you'd use a barrel wrench as well, a barrel nut wrench, to hold it all together. So these kinds of vise blocks are designed specifically to grab the standard kind of like mil-spec upper receivers. And do you need one? It depends. Again, that 5 and 5. If you're going to be doing this a bunch of times, then yeah, you should, because you're going to use it and you're going to need it as you explore different options. These two are often sold in a kit by Wheeler. Do they work? Yeah, they work great. And there's a lot of stuff where you're going to think, dang, I should just be doing this right. You're not wrapping your receiver in a rag and wedging it in a vise. I mean, if you're going to do it a few times, do it right. And then finally, on this side, I've got a dedicated bit set that I use specifically with with the firearms, and these have a lot of the smaller sizes that are pretty common. Torx and Hex are a big deal. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that uses a standard slotted and Phillips, and then I usually have something like this that's kind of dedicated to it, to working, so I always have my specific tools for it. I don't have to run to the tool chest, but that's just me. Out in the field, it's good to have something like this, which is a, the Leatherman multi-tool. This is the Mutt. I've done a bit of talking about Leatherman tools, but this is a great one to have in the field with you, especially for the certain kind of platform-specific rifles, because you can do certain things with one of these that you can't with a traditional Leatherman. And then there are a lot of tasks for that particular platform that allow you, to put this to use. Whereas traditional hunting rifles, bolt actions, things like that generally don't require any of the necessary tools on that. Then finally I wanted to point out this. I love this thing. On those busy range days, I used to use an old school stapler. This is the Milwaukee. I don't have it loaded with a battery, but anyway, it's an M12 staple gun. And, whoops, drop my staples. And it shoots these things into whatever you want. They're a pretty stout staple, and it's just so nice to walk out, when you're setting up targets or something, and just chink, 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 and you're done. It works slick. I love this. So, just pointing that out. Anyway, I have a lot of specific tools, like I did with watches, specific tools for specific tasks. And I just wanted to point out some of the ones that I use with firearms. So hopefully you found it useful. With that, Doc out.